Hey, Jake. JJ told us he'd tell within 2 minutes that it just didn't think the energy wasn't there, whatever you want to call it. Did you feel that on the floor, and do you feel like there's a reason you guys weren't able to find it like you have the previous several games?
Yeah, I mean, it's always up to that first group to come out and kind of set the tone, and I just don't think, we really did that today. We kind of came out and got punched in our mouth and didn't really have an answer for it. They just outplayed us at the end of the day. We struggled defensively. We had some turnovers that were, not very good, and they were scoring off the turnovers, which obviously doesn't help. At the end of the day, it's really just up to that first group that starts to come out and set the tone, and we just got to do a better job of that.
You understand these games do happen sometimes in the NBA, but do you still, do you hold yourself to a higher standard of it? Are you kind of eager for the next one? How do you make sure it doesn't happen again?
Yeah, I mean, you just got to learn from it and move on. You got to understand that, this isn't the identity of this team. This game was an outlier of, the first 10 games that we've played. And, just to not let it break us, we're just going to come right back the next game and be ready to play.
And then just for kind of find one specific thing, like defensively, was it the back line? Was the lack of help just with them getting downhill so much and getting in the paint? Why was that happening?
Yeah, this is just a team that cuts a lot off ball and just tries to get to the paint. And they had a really good shooting night the whole night, especially that first half. But yeah, team defensively and individually, we just weren't there.
Jake, in terms of pregame energy, did you feel something like this coming on, or was it just didn't show up in the first 2 minutes?
No. I mean, I don't think we ever go into a game where we either, we knew that they had guys out, but I don't think we're ever going into the game underestimating, the team that we're playing against. We knew they were going to come out and play hard. We kind of knew what their game plan was going to be. We just didn't come out and execute what ours was supposed to be.
I know you guys have been really proud of the connection you guys have built so far. In these types of games, when things aren't going well very early, how do you try to lean on your teammates to figure something out, find some sort of spark?
Yeah, I mean, you just got to communicate. At the end of the day, this was a tough game. Again, this is kind of just one of those games where the other team just kind of had it going, and we just couldn't find a way to kind of get over that hump. But when you find yourselves in these situations, you just can't let it break the team up and stop communicating with everyone. So you just got to communicate and make sure everyone stays locked in, which we didn't. But
just going back to that communication, during timeouts, during I guess halftime, but on the floor, what are guys talking about? Are guys feeling the same our night? We need to do something to change the energy. What did it sound like as Atlanta was having success and y'all were trying to figure out if y'all could get back into this game?
We really just kept saying we just got to string together a couple stops, 2 stops in a row, 3 stops in a row, whatever it was. That's kind of what we kept saying. We didn't do it. We didn't execute on what we were supposed to do. If you don't get stops in this league, it's very hard to win games, and they were scoring a lot early on. They were getting offensive rebounds. They were scoring off that. But yeah, it's really just we were saying this isn't us, this isn't our team, and just gotta learn from it and move on.
Did what they did resemble kind of what y'all did when y'all went up to Portland and didn't have y'all main guys that y'all played through and still had success? How much do you see similarities in that, and how much do you see differences in that?
Yeah, I mean, they played hard. They played harder than us on our team. Outside of Vando, who had 12 points and 18 rebounds, he was pretty much the only one that was out there hustling and playing hard and giving it his all tonight. And that's what Atlanta did tonight. They came out and they played harder than us.
Jake, in modern NBA, it's especially in the midway through the third quarter, it feels like anytime can happen. But JJ still pulled starters, pretty much the main rotation guys. Then, what kind of message, did that send at the time? And I think this is really your first time, having a loss like this on this team with JJ as the coach? What was his messaging? What was he saying to you guys in the locker room afterwards?
Yeah, I mean, he kind of just saw the way that the game was going, and we had that, halftime locker room talk where it was like the same thing I was just telling him, like, just go out there, get some stops, punch them in the mouth in the third quarter. We were down 14. It was the same thing like in Memphis when we played them. And if we came out and had a really good third quarter, then we, could possibly win the game. And we just came out in the third quarter, and it was the same thing kind of all over again. So after the game, JJ was, we're all upset, obviously. Like, we never want games like this to happen. Very disappointed in, just our overall energy tonight. And, the biggest thing is to not, like I've been saying, let it break us and just to stay together and continue to, let this be an outlier game.
All right, Dalton, obviously not the kind of result that you guys want. What did you feel like? Where did you feel like this game went the wrong direction, and how are you trying to get back into it?
I'd just say we came out flat. It took us a while to get going, and then, when we got going, they just kept it going, and they didn't let up. So, we're gonna watch film, build on that, and then get ready.
You've seen games like this before. You guys were on the other end of one in Portland, obviously about a week ago. When you feel the tide going one way, are there certain things that you try to do as an individual, or what are the methods to try to deal with it?
I would say as an individual, we all try to stick together. I think that's the biggest thing. We try to listen to all the vets. We got a smart on the bench that always communicates every time out. So I think that's the biggest thing for us that we did.
JJ was talking a lot about championship communication, championship habits in a game where the game gets out of hand so quickly. Like, how do you feel you guys stuck to those things? Like, were you still communicating the way that you wanted? Were you still able to work on some of those championship habits that you want to develop?
Yeah, I think for sure we still could work on it and be better. I don't think we're always there no matter what. I think it's a long season, so we got a lot of time to keep building all of our championship habits and communication and stuff like that. So I think it's a long season, and we're just going to get better from there.
This is your guys' first time really having a loss like this where it just let go of the rope and the other team just blitzes you in the way that they did. There were a few losses like that last season, thinking about in Minnesota, in Miami, thinking like this every time. How was the messaging from JJ? How would you compare post-game JJ today compared to those times when you had last season?
I would say compared to those last ones, it's a lot calmer. I think he knows that we got punched in the mouth, and we punched them back, but they just kept going. So I think at the end of the day, just like he said, just got to watch it and be ready to take criticism and then build on it for our next game.
Dalton, you guys are still missing several of your primary creative type players. Look like Atlanta was doing a lot of switching. When that's happening, what are the ways to still try and generate good shots as a team?
Just get ball movement. I think we did a pretty good job doing that. We got a lot of open looks. Just some shots didn't fall like they usually do. So I think that's something we'll be fine with, especially when we get AR back and stuff like that. So it'll be good.
What do you think of calmer JJ?
Calmer JJ?
Yeah, like after a big blowout like this.
I wouldn't say calmer. I think it's more just like, I don't know, just more to build off of. I don't know if it's just calm. It's just he expected more out of us, and we're just gonna be ready for the next game and move on.
Did you feel anything unique, or what kind of stood out to you about how Atlanta played, how they approached and attacked y'all team's defense in particular tonight?
They were just moving the ball around the whole entire time. The guys hit their shots, and they just attacked us 24/7, picking up full court, and then just blowing up every action of ours.
Obviously not the effort that you guys have had typically so far this season. What did you think happened tonight, and where was that?
Really probably leaving those guys underestimated, not keeping those guys to account, forgetting about them, that this is the NBA and those are NBA players. They deflated us a little bit too off their shot making. I'm seeing the scouting report on the clips they have had in their previous games. That film was not showing the guys out there, and that's how the NBA is. It's always one of those nights where you really have to lock in and dial in, and I feel like we were just behind the ball a little bit, and they killed us in transition, and they played amazing defense, and we weren't ready for it, and JJ basically got on us about it, and we're ready for the next game.
Yeah, I guess in the first half, you saw a lot of different possessions where they were getting behind the defense, right? And you guys have been doing a pretty good job of limiting that lately. Did you feel that the team defense just wasn't quite connected there?
Yeah, it wasn't connected at all. Just kind of, it was just discombobulated a little bit where how fast it was moving. You know, them guys were hungry. You know, next man up mentality, and they really showed up. Coach should really be happy of those guys over there. They really moved the ball well. I think they had plus 30 assists as well, and they had us moving. It was in our paint, and yeah, we couldn't do nothing about it.
Was there a specific moment in the game where you just could tell you guys didn't have the juice or would not have the juice that you guys have?
It was really coming out the halves. You know, I was really depending on the third quarter for us to have that, you know, just to throw the first punch in. We kind of did. We made them call the first timeout, but after that timeout, they came out even more aggressive and locked in. And yeah, we couldn't match it because their made shots and our missed shots kind of like, you know, the ratio was just all over the place. And it was more of a second effort game, and they definitely outplayed us.
Obviously, it's disappointing. Jake's mentioned that, JJ mentioned that, but it's even more disappointing when, I mean, you guys basically did the same thing to Portland, in Portland. You guys
Yeah.
won games like this.
Yeah, that's why it's kind of like a hard pill to swallow for real. You know, when we know what we're coming up against, and you know, seeing the way how they played, and they played phenomenal. But like us, not even damn near competing. You know, in a sense, and you know, it looks bad on paper and it looks bad on film. So this is one of them games where, yeah, the food gonna taste bad tonight. You know, but this is the NBA. We got 82 games. Next game up.
What did you feel from Atlanta's defense that was probably unique, something y'all haven't quite saw over the first, 2.5 weeks?
Nah, they had everything. You know, they have like sizes over there. You know, them dudes can switch 1 through 5, and you know that's what they really did. And, you know, everything was with pace and aggression. So that's something we're used to seeing. But you know, they're one of the teams for sure, like Portland, that can really switch 1 through 5 with all their like sizes and really get their offense going off of just having stops on defense. And that's what they did. They made sure they got stops on live ball, and they got downhill and in our paint.
I know you take a lot of pride in communicating on defense, and when you see the defense a little bit discombobulated, just how much, like, how personally do you take that, and how do you want to kind of improve
I mean,
next time?
yeah, JJ can see the stress on my face, and he tried to calm me down, but it was a little frustrating because I'm the last line of defense, and like I said, they were in our paint, and the way how they were moving the ball, there were centers. The centers were even driving the ball, and it was the guards cutting. It was the other way around. So, you know, they're pretty unique on how they were playing. They were running around doing a lot of cutting and a lot of rebounding. So they really wanted that game, and it's really a second effort game tonight that got them the dub.
Last question.
The starters midway through the third. You were the first to come out a couple minutes after that.
I kind of knew what it was for sure. By the time, you know, it was looking kind of ugly. I think we couldn't even get the ball up, and then we got another turnover. It was just looking bad, and you know, once I seen Hayes come up, I already knew that, yeah, we on to the next one.
Obviously, I would imagine JJ had a message for the team, but do you have a personal message for you after taking you out at that point?
I mean, I really no personal message to the team. We all know what we did out there wrong, and we all know how we felt. So I didn't really get no personal, you know, not at all from JJ. It was more like a pat on the back, like, yo, it's one of these days where, you know, we're just flat-footed and teams are on our ass right now. We not competing, plain and simple.
Thank you.
JJ, anything specific stand out about how the game kind of started and you weren't able to get going as a team?
Yeah, just not a lot to like tonight.
Where, you know, you obviously had mentioned, right, you're going to emphasize that this happens sometimes when other teams are down. They find a way to rally around the flag. Did you feel some of that from the Hawks, or did you feel like this was more of your issue?
Oh, they brought the requisite level of effort and urgency and physicality.
We spoke about pregame about how you guys were in that position as the Hawks. We spoke about how much you guys have rallied and brought that energy. Is it even more disappointing to see it to kick off this road trip in that manner, considering you guys have done it so much to start?
Yeah, very disappointing.
So now, kind of, what's next? What's next? Is it kind of just you flush this one, or do you look at it after, or is it just let's just forget and move on to the next one?
No, we're going to look at it for sure.
third quarter that you realized that this was not going to be one of those nights where at least your first unit was going to get that?
I realized that in the first 2 minutes of the game.
What did you see in those first 2 minutes?
Nothing.